Well, the latest is we've seen that finally the Red Crescent has managed to reach some of these people on the Libyan border, and that they've brought some mattresses. But there's still a group that has been on the Algerian border that people are quite worried about. They haven't been able to reach them, and people are really fearing the worst in that situation. At the same time, we've also have not seen international organizations such as the IOM and other UN agencies taking a lead here. In one case, we had even seen that the IOM, the migration agency of the UN, had actually asked authorities in Tunisia to clear people who had camped out in front of their offices. Really, these were people who had been made homeless by what we're seeing as racist policies against migrants who haven't been able to find a housing, who've been kicked out of their homes.
You know, Fadil, many of them, as we had in the report, have been abandoned in the desert between Libya and Tunisia. What does this say about President Kais Saied's leadership?
Yeah, well, although there are some Tunisians who've been trying to help migrants and giving them some water and some food and even shelter, there are also reactionary groups who've been mobilizing to attack migrants, who are seeing them as a threat. And these reactionary elements are also, some of them are within the security forces as well. And it seems that President Kais Saied is really supporting these groups, playing to this sort of base. We've also seen that the president has doubled down, insisted that the migrants are actually being treated well, even though we're hearing reports that some of them have died from the treatment that they've suffered at the hands of Tunisian authorities.
Any response so far from the African Union or the European Union, as far as you know, so far at this point?
For the most recent one, we haven't seen one, although we did see after President Kais Saied's speech in February, which had actually echoed some of the European far-right great replacement conspiracy theory about demographic change. They had canceled a conference that was going to happen in Tunisia at that time, and they had put out a statement, but since then we haven't seen a response. And same for the European Union, which actually has been sending hundreds of millions of euros to Tunisia to actually control migration within its borders. Something that we've seen actually, there does seem to be control of migration, but it's happening quite violently. And this is also after the visit of the far-right Italian Prime Minister, Giorgia Meloni, to Tunisia just last month. She made 2 visits where they were promising even more money to Tunisia for migration control.
You know, on your website, you're up to date with the news coming out of Tunisia. Do you think that the economic and political situation in Tunisia has any implications as far as this Sub-Saharan African migrant crisis is concerned?
Yeah, this may be a factor. I mean, Tunisia has really been cut off from international financial markets until it signs an IMF loan deal, which means it's having trouble importing basic goods like wheat and animal feed. So we're seeing shelves that are empty. We're seeing inflation rising, still very high unemployment. And in fact, we've seen not just Africans from other countries who are going through Tunisia to migrate to Europe. We've seen many Tunisians who themselves are feeling quite desperate economically. So it's in this context of economic desperation that we're seeing these tensions flaring between Tunisians and some of the migrants from other countries in Africa who have been passing through, many of them on the way to Europe.
Fadil, many thanks. Fadil Ali Riza is the founder and editor-in-chief of Meshkal.org.